Hello, I am Michael Bean, and this is your lesson for myfreeactingclass.com for Wednesday, December the 9th. Just a heads up that tomorrow, Thursday, December the 10th, is going to be, we're going to take a break, and then we will resume class on Monday, January the 11th. So if you have things that have not been covered that you want to see covered, or things that we covered that you want to hear more about, if you have ideas for what I should be thinking about and planning in that month-long break, please email them to me at info@myfreeactingclass.com. Like I said at the beginning, my name is Michael Bean. I'm an acting teacher. I've been teaching for 20 years, just a little bit more, and then I've been teaching film and TV acting for 18. I own and run a kids film and TV acting school called Biz Studio. I also teach adults, which you can find links to all of my various projects, as well as links to the entire video archive of all of the lessons from the last 8 months, including multiple interviews with casting directors who joined us, with actors, script analysis, so many different things in our YouTube video archive, which you can find a link to at myfreeactingclass.com. So there's that. Today's going to be a little bit of a mishmash. Monday, I elected to cover a short script and talk about camera technique. Yesterday, we talked about story. So now I'm going to do what I would normally do on Monday and do some self-tape review with you. Just mix it up because I'm crazy like that. But I've got something exciting for the self-tape review, which is one of my recent students, somebody who I trained when he was a teenager, and then he took my adult class for about a year, and I just watched him really grow and come into himself as an actor. Just recently booked his first really substantial recurring role on a TV show, and he booked it from a self-tape. So I happened to just sort of see him in passing in the background of somebody else's Zoom call recently, and I was like, oh, hey, Ben, do you still have the self-tape for that project that you booked, and can you send it? So we've reviewed a number of self-tapes so far. One of the things we haven't reviewed in the self-tape review sessions is a self-tape that actually got somebody a job. So I'm excited to look at that together. We did look at Mara's self-tape a number of weeks ago. I was on one of the Monday sessions. You can sort of see it if you're scanning through the YouTube archive. She's got a red shirt and it says self-tape review, and that was a self-tape that got her callback for commercial. They were like, yes, fly down to LA right now to have your call back for this Disney thing. And this is one that got Ben a job. I think he just finished working on set very recently. He had quite a number of days through the fall. So let's start by taking a look at that, and I will talk to you about camera technique in the process. And now, some of the things that you're looking for are relatively neutral backdrop, light reflected in the eyes, and I think it's dark enough now that I can show you what that looks like if you don't. The light reflected in your eyes is the thing that makes you look alive on camera, and if you don't have it, well, I have to, from down here, I'm like, ugh, then I just look sort of like dead and zombie-like. Doesn't work so much. And so Eyeline, which is the imaginary line between your eyes and what you're looking at, which you want as close to camera as possible. Boom, boom, not over there or over there, because, as pretty as my ears are, they just don't tell you that much about how I'm feeling. And so we want your eyes to be close to camera. We want you medium close up, which means top of your head to just down below your armpits. I think very, very often, I see this or this, right, where it's, where you're cutting me off, or I see, actors being too far back from the camera, and too far. Is anything wrong with this? No, of course not. But if you're closer, what will happen is the people who are decision makers who are watching it will have a felt sense that they can see more of you. I'm like, oh yeah, I feel that person more. So these are some of the things that are kind of fundamental for self-tape auditions, and you'll see all of them reflected in Ben's tape. Partly because, let's be honest, his mom is also an acting teacher. So this is a kid who's got had like a lot of exposure to good ideas. So the person who's reading opposite him, there are two readers in the tape, one of which is his mom, who's Carrie Sandemersky, who came in maybe like last month as a guest. She's amazing. And the other is his girlfriend, who I think is like in theater school in the UK somewhere. But here we are. Now, Ben qualified saying that, just so you know, it's a really stylized show. And so he did some research. It said so in what they wanted in the breakdown, and so he gave a very stylized performance that is appropriate to the style. So that reminder from yesterday's lesson, that one of the first things that I typically do and that I recommend students do is take a look at the style of the show, because that will give you a lot of the information that you need to craft your performance in a way that is appropriate for the script. So,
transfers? How long have you been waiting?
Not long, forever.
Right, so you see that little flick of the eyeline? In the first 1.5 seconds, he's looking at everybody in the scene, the people he's talking to and the person he's walking in with. He's also walking in from the same side as the person who is sort of his partner in the scene, like the two of them are coming in and talking to these other people. I think this is the first self-tape that we've seen that's two different readers. Now, personally, I find it a little bit distracting, but it's not too bad. One of the reasons that I wanted to show this to you is so that I can show you that even the kind of self-tape that gets you a job, these not perfect. One of the things that you'll notice right away is that his reader over on this side of the camera is at least as loud as he is, like very loud, very clear. I assume that the other reader is, on a laptop or something, and has, had the volume turned very much down. So, right, if I was advising these folks in real time, I would say, hey, reader, just like you stand way further back from the camera because your voice is too loud right now, or take your voice down. And probably standing further back is the easiest and best way to adjust that, because whoever's closest to the device, whether it's a external microphone or phone, especially if it's a phone, whoever's closest is going to pick up the loudest. But those eye lines, nice and crisp and clear and very close to camera. Boom, this side, boom, that side. Camera's at approximately eye level. We're not shooting, up on him and seeing his chin. We're not shooting down on him and seeing lots of forehead. So there's a lot of that's right there.
Didn't really take the initiative, did you?
We followed instructions.
Do you always follow instructions?
When appropriate.
Oh, some kind of rebel. I see.
What?
Totally kidding.
Oh, so can you hear how the reader is actually crisper, louder, clearer than he is? And did it matter the people who booked him for this? Clearly not. So one of my concerns in doing the self-tape review is that I may have accidentally given you the impression that your tapes need to be perfect, or that the technical things that I'm commenting on are requisite or required for you to book jobs. And none of it is required. Everybody knows with a self-tape that you've got 24 or 48 hours to put it together, and that you're doing it pretty quick. And so there's a lot of forgiveness for such things. Okay.
I'm Jackson. She's Jilson. We're in charge of you four. Now let's get you checked into your rooms.
Satellite TV. You can watch anytime. It's great.
So, like after we get our homework done?
Anytime. Flip it on right now if you'd like. It's encouraged. Don't worry. Same screen dimensions as the one in the boys' room. I'm sure they're enjoying it right now. You're all orphans, huh?
Some of us. Most of us.
That is sad.
So sad.
But there are a ton of orphans here, so it's not like a big deal. It's common.
Which is not to say it's a bummer here. It's upbeat, the vibe. Unless you make it a bummer.
We can't control that.
So do we get some kind of tool?
Right, so this is one of the things that Ben and I really worked actively on when he was in my adult class, was the allowing stillness, allowing simplicity. And so you can see there's a couple of beats in that scene in particular that are really just like a little look over at his scene partner, and that's all that it needs to communicate super clearly that he has a strong opinion. He's also made some really, right, like I said, he qualified that the style is broader. He's made some really specific wardrobe choices that do a lot of the work of making him look like a weirdo without him having to say weirdo. Right? It's just like this kind of button-down collar and the like strange, the combination of these things, right? And all of them are probably just like normal things he had in his wardrobe, but you put them all together and it's like, this is like the sort of uptight president of the chess club or something. Like, what's going on here? So we get a sense of the character visually right away, which is helpful. Like, you don't want to dress completely in costume, but we do get a sense of it right away.
East Campus is all dorms, with the exception of several classrooms. North Campus encompasses all campuses except East Campus, including South Campus.
Sounds confusing, but it isn't confusing, which happens to be an important principle you'll learn here at the Institute.
What's that?
The tower.
You have no reason to go there unless the headmaster calls you specifically to a meeting, or unless you become messengers.
So unlikely it'll ever become relevant to you.
Rope free. You can go absolutely.
Now, as part of the stylized thing that he's doing, like you can hear that he's doing something more theatrical, with his voice. It's not theatrical in the sense of like huge and wildly expressive, but he's definitely made a specific vocal choice to have this sort of like even tone and the direct eye contact and the not blinking. And all of that is working really well to help communicate this sort of like creepy, like strange character choice that he's made. Something that is true not just for comedic scenes, for a scene like this, but for any kind of scene, including the most dramatic scenes, is that stillness and eye contact both are status moves. They both communicate power to the camera. And so one of the things that is happening here, because he is very still, because he's not blinking, because he's not moving very much, which I'm positive are deliberate choices on his part, that because I know how much he moves around when he works otherwise, is that it's making his character, even though his words are not in any way intimidating, even though he as a character is not dressed in an intimidating way, that there is a like strange sense of power over or intimidation in it that comes from that direct eye contact. And I think that it probably reads as like slightly creepy or weird, but technically if you wanted to create that effect, that's one of the things that's really contributing to it here, is that stillness and the direct eye contact.
Where you want, so long as you stay on the paths.
Why?
It's dangerous off the paths. There's all kinds of abandoned mine shafts. The island is rich in precious metals, a fact our headmaster only discovered after he bought it.
He's used his wealth to create the school that surrounds you today, a free school. He doesn't even want attention. He's interested only in the broadening of the minds of the next generation.
And who is the headmaster?
He prefers to introduce himself. You'll meet him soon.
Right, that little smirk at the end, and then that's the whole tape. So Ben sent this in, and from what I know, booked it straight off of that tape. And so that's an example of the kind of self-tape that got somebody a job. And now that that's on my mind, I can think of half a dozen actors who I know have worked, including Leanne, who's on set right now, which is why she's not teaching on Friday, for her like second or third movie of the pandemic. And Emily, who came in as a guest a couple of months ago. So there are easily half a dozen people right off the top of my head who I can ask if they are willing to share their self-tapes. They're like, this is the self-tape that got me a job. And I would love to start including those in the Monday self-tape review. So I can say, look, here are the practice self-tapes that people are doing. Let's look at it for technical things. Let's look at it for technical things. And then let's just see a range of the tapes that helped get people jobs. Because we don't have to get permission from the production to share those, because they're still the property of the actor who did them, as long as I don't tell you what project they're for before it airs. And so I'm excited about bringing that in. Now, I don't have, I have something fun that I can show you that is completely unrelated, or only very marginally related. But if you have questions, and I threw this out yesterday, now is a great time to ask them, because we are going to take a month of break, and I always want to know more about the things that you want to know about, because I don't know, half an hour a day, a couple of days a week, especially if there are a couple of things that I'm trying to hit, like script analysis and self-tape review. It doesn't leave that much time, and I'm excited to spend the next month planning things. So tell me what your curiosities or questions are today.
Hi, I'm a very beginner. This is my first class I ever took for acting, and I'm really trying to start something. Where can I really start it? Do you have any class recommendations?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you just want some of the foundational ideas, if you follow the link on the myfreeactingclass.com website, you'll find resources. There's a handbook you can download if you like reading. There's the archive of past lessons here. And then in terms of you mean getting into a class where you are assigned the scene and you're working with a teacher and getting practice that way?
Yes.
Yeah. Can I ask, are you looking for a teen class or an adult class? Because I can't see you, so I don't know.
Oh, I'm 12 years old. So.
Okay, perfect. So the kids and teens school that I own and run is called Biz Studio, and I enthusiastically recommend their classes because I think they're the best, because I built them from scratch because the way that I thought was the best. So hopelessly biased. But you can find that. You can follow the links from the myfreeactingclass.com website, or you can just go to Biz Studio, BIZ Studio.ca. And right now we're teaching a number of different online classes. Leanne, who is who maybe you've seen the video from. Oh no, you said that you just came to this one.
Yes.
So you can go back and watch some of Leanne's videos. She's wonderful. And she teaches most of the teen classes there, which is the ages 12 to 17 classes. And so you can check her out in the YouTube videos and then be like, I like that lady. Yeah, sign me up. And of course, there are plenty of other schools that right now that are offering Zoom classes. One of the wonderful things that you never had the option to do before this is you could really right now take a film and TV acting class from anyone, anywhere.
Right.
Right, that if you found a school in LA, that you were excited about, if you found a teacher in New Zealand who you were like, yeah, I don't know, the way this teacher teaches just really speaks to me. And like I said, I'm hopelessly biased because I got to have so much say in how we set up our classes. So the classes that we do at the studio are only 6 people at a time for 2 hours. And I also have somebody who's a rehearsal coach who works with each actor for half an hour every week. So everybody gets half an hour of private coaching every week, plus their class, and it's tiny, because then we can actually make a difference for people. So it's so of course I think my class is the best. But I will also say that finding an acting teacher is in some ways like finding a counselor or therapist, right? So imagine that you Yasmin had some kind of deep personal stuff that you needed to work through, and then somebody was like, well, here, call this counselor, and you called them, and it just it just felt kind of off. You wouldn't sign up for 10 sessions with that person. You'd be like, I don't know, I'm sure they're really good at their job, but I'm not personally feeling it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, and so there's an element of that with acting teachers, and that's why I said check out that little video of one of the videos of Leanne if you can, so that you can see what she looks like and the way she talks, and just go oh yeah, actually, I feel her. I think that I get her. I'm excited about her. And again, if you are looking at other classes, here in Vancouver or anywhere in the world, see if you can find video of that person, not just the slick 1.5 minute, that they've paid somebody to edit together, with jump cuts and music in the background, but see if you can find half an hour of them talking. The Now, Candy, of course, you have the option of auditing classes. That for adult classes, typically you will be able to sit in and watch for free, almost always. Teen classes very rarely offer that option. And part of that is confidentiality, and part of it is like the comfort of the people there. I mean, I think it's just as uncomfortable for adults, but as acting teachers, we're pretty used to like, well, they're adults, they can handle it. And sometimes it adds a little bit of energy having people watch. But the beautiful thing is, if you're an adult, you can probably audit or sit in and watch for free any acting class that you want, especially the Zoom ones, because, well, like what? It costs them nothing. It's not like you're even taking a chair. And then with teen classes, I guess, I think you still will have to do a little bit of more research and go look.
Yeah.
In general, especially because you're just starting off, I will say that keep feeding your love of doing it, because that's the thing in my experience that will keep you doing it over time, right? That there is some validity to the idea that the person who practices the most gets the most skilled, but because acting is this thing that kind of is only really alive if you feel it, it's not something you can like punish yourself into doing. You can't be like, you can't be, I don't know, like maybe figure skaters do that where they're like, I'm up at 4 a.m. I'm on the ice for 3 hours and then I go and do squats. Like I'm gonna be in the Olympics. But actors really have to play in that space of like, I'm gonna feed my love of it. Like, yeah, sure, I want to do this extra practice, and what makes me want to do practice more? And can I be smart about figuring out that? Because and I see this from students in my own teen classes. I mean, I only really stepped away from most of the kids and teens classes, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. Before that, I was teaching all of the classes, for all of the age groups, pretty much. And now I just teach the advanced classes at the teen school. But I definitely have very frequently seen students fall into the kind of mindset that they would with schoolwork, with class, where it feels like homework, like rehearsing their scene feels like homework. And so what they do is they wait and do it an hour before class. Because, if you can, why not, right? Like, this is homework, and if that's the way you're orienting to it, as like, this is something that I have to do, that somebody else is making me do, then you're very unlikely to want to do it every day. Whereas if you're like, oh my gosh, I get this opportunity, like I'm actually paying for this class, like this teacher works for me right now. Hopefully you find somebody who's like nice and supportive enough that makes sense in your head. Like if somebody's really mean, it might be harder to be like, that mean person works for me. But with anybody who's like, I think, a supportive teacher for you, if you come back to the story of like, wait, this person works for me and they're there to help me get what I want, then that maybe makes it more fun to practice. Then you're like, yeah, I want to run my scene. Like, yeah, I want to take it to school and like give it to a friend and say like, hey, would you run my lines with me? Like, can we do something silly with it? Like, can we do something crazy with it? Can we try it again? So that by the time you get to class, you're like, I've run this 100 different ways. I'm so stoked to have my coach run it with me. Like, okay, coach, what do you want? You want different? Okay, cool. Instead of like, yeah, I learned this an hour ago because I think I have to. Oh, my brain. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Of course. I hope that's some helpful.
It was very. Thank you.
Candy or Claudine, do either of you have questions before we wrap up? I know we've just got a couple of minutes.
I just want to say thank you. Like, I do think I'll be formulating some questions, so I'll probably email you during.
I would love that, please.
Yeah, but seriously, thank you for this entire time. Like, since I've found this, I'm like, I have to hop on. I'm sorry if, I'm cleaning sometimes with work.
No, that's great. Oh my gosh.
I'm still listening, so I try to, as long as I have a good connection. But thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Like, honestly, it has been an exercise in like enlightened self-interest, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, when everything was all crazy, just having, having to be accountable to somebody else. Right? I talked about this in goal setting, that like being accountable to somebody outside of yourself. There were some days where I was just like, oh, I have to put clothes on now because I have to teach people. And as soon as I'm teaching, I'm like, oh, wait, I know how to do this. And I'm offering something that I love, and I'm sharing with other people who love it. And like, so it's very grounding for me as well. Claudine, do you have any questions before we wrap up today?
No, I don't.
Okay.
but no, enjoy your break, and I look forward to it when it comes back, definitely.
Thank you very much. Like one more lesson tomorrow, and then we'll be back on January 11th, full of fire and good ideas and planned out lessons.
Excellent.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Merry Christmas.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.